Former President Bill Clinton said our country is better off after President Obama's first term in office. Clinton delivered a rousing speech at the Democratic National Convention on Wednesday night. The former president added no one could have repaired the economy in just 4 years. With Obama locked in a tight race with GOP candidate Mitt Romney, Clinton took on the job of contrasting the president's policies with that of its opponents. The Oklahoman's Chris Castile has been in Charlotte, North Carolina for the last several days. He joins us now to give us more insight on the convention. Chris, thanks so much for your time.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. Glad to be here.
President Obama takes the stage tonight, but there have already been some changes, namely to the venue. Obama was originally supposed to talk to the crowd of over 60,000 people at Bank of America Stadium. The chance for storms, I guess, has moved the event indoors. And what has been the response to that?
Well, there's a lot of disappointment among the people who would have been able to get into the Bank of America Stadium today to see the president speak. Obviously, the arena where the first 2 days have been held is a basketball arena. It's where the Bobcats play, and I think for the last 2 days there have been about 20,000 people in there, and this would have, added tens of thousands. And that's what they did what the president did in Denver in 2008. They held the first few days of the convention in an arena, and then moved it out to the football stadium where the Broncos play for the president's speech. And there's been the threat of rain all week. First day, I guess Monday and Tuesday, it rained pretty hard here. And the Obama campaign kept saying early in the week, rain or shine, people sit in rain in football games. But yesterday, with the threat of thunderstorms, which is a totally different thing than just a drizzle or something, they decided to make the change. And you already had people en route. You already had people here in the Oklahoma delegation that were ready to go. So, a lot of Republicans have been saying that the campaign changed the site because they weren't going to be able to fill the stadium, which would have looked bad, would have been a bad visual for the convention, and supported the Republican narrative about the Democrats this year, that there's not the same level of enthusiasm. But I just don't know about that. I don't know whether they would have been able to get the stadium as filled as they did in Denver or not. But some of the Oklahomans that don't have passes to get into the arena rented a high-definition television, and they're going to gather here at the hotel where the Oklahomans are staying and watch it on TV tonight. So I guess they got to be in the area anyway, and they can all go downtown this afternoon or around the site and kind of just be part of the convention activities.
They can be part of the convention activities. I'm speaking with Chris Castile on the phone from Charlotte, North Carolina, where he attended the arena last night as Bill Clinton delivered his speech. And Chris, take us behind the scenes. It was a 48-minute speech, but were people restless? It was a pretty impassioned speech. How was the reaction, the energy that you saw and observed from inside the arena last night?
They were never restless. I mean, it was just it was a rapt audience the entire time. I mean, he is just such a gifted orator. I mean, a politician. I mean, he's just super smart too. I mean, he had a prepared text, and I think he mainly uses us as talking points while he goes off on things that he wants to talk about, and he can pull any fact, any figure just out of his head and just kind of ad lib on it. And even when he was going into some detail about programs like Medicare and where's that $700 billion from, and kind of trying to counter some of the things that came out of the Republican National Convention, people never get that their eyes are glazed over look. Just because of the way he can kind of weave that sort of policy detail in with just that connection that he makes to people that makes them feel like he's speaking directly to them and making them understand what he's trying to say. And he got some good lines, and he's also able to take jabs at the opposition without it seeming snarky or mean. It's like I said, I mean, it's just a special skill if you have it. And I think last night was just evidence of why he is still so popular, and why the Obama campaign wanted to use him last night to make the case for a second term, because some might argue that he can do it better than the president himself, especially because, as Clinton mentioned, high up in his remarks last night, that even though the parties have had their disagreements, going back forever. There's just a level of hostility towards the president that seems unprecedented, and that's what Clinton talked about last night, and I think that is why he was an important speaker for the campaign.
Chris, let's talk about that. How does Obama follow up tonight the energy and the level of policy and information that Clinton delivered last night?
I think he follows up just because he's the president of the United States, and this is this is obviously the party faithful. And one thing that's been interesting about this convention is they're not I don't know how to say, but they're not like running from his record. They're not like trying to ignore health care reform. They're not trying to ignore the financial reformers or some of the things that the Tea Party hates, like the bailout of GM. They're going right at it, and they're hitting it every night, and they're trying to explain, trying to respond to the question that Republicans have been asking for the last few weeks. Are you better off? The way they're approaching it is saying, yes, you are, and here's why. And that's what what President Clinton was able to do last night. And that's what Obama will do tonight. And I think maybe what Clinton got out of the way last night was this kind of detailed policy lecture that he was able to give last night, and the president won't have to do that tonight, and we'll just talk about what he has done with it. Obviously he's going to talk again about the mess he inherited, what he tried to do, and what he still needs to do, and maybe speak in broad terms about that, but also speak in specific terms about how he can continue to help people that are struggling, the people that Michelle Obama said that he worries so much about every night. So it's a tough act to follow, but they're two different people, and the president is certainly no slouch when it comes to public speaking, and I'm sure he will have the crowd in the palm of his hand, just as President Clinton did last night.
Absolutely. We mentioned former President Bill Clinton was there to separate the president's policies from the Republican policies. Let's give it a local angle now. Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin is also in North Carolina. She's there to provide some kind of rebuttal for what the Democrats are saying, correct?
Yeah, that's become kind of a common thing at these conventions on both sides. And Governor Fallin was here Wednesday and held a press conference. The Republican National Committee and the Romney campaign have set up kind of their own press operation here, where they hold daily briefings to kind of rebut what's coming from the podium every day. The Democrats did it in Tampa, and I remember as far back as Chicago, the 1996 Democratic Convention in Chicago, I went and covered a press conference that then Governor Frank Keating held to do the exact same thing. So Governor Fallin was in town yesterday and was part of a press conference, and she talked about her view that voting for the president again would be another 4 years of what she considers failed economic policies. And she was asked about Clinton, and she said, well, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama are two different people. That Bill Clinton left office with a federal surplus, and she said Obama's added $4 trillion of debt. I talked to some of the Oklahoma delegates about the governor being here, the Oklahoma Democratic delegates, and they just basically shrugged her off. They really don't think that anything she says up here is going to convince anybody to vote for Mitt Romney.
All right, we mentioned Clinton delivering a stirring speech. Obama expected to deliver one tonight as well. You've been there all week long, and there have been some other stirring speeches. Who else has made big impressions? I'm guessing Michelle Obama went over huge. Elizabeth Warren, the mayor of San Antonio, Julian Castro.
All of them were really good. Elizabeth Warren, basically had the job of being the warm-up act for President Clinton last night. She's an Oklahoma native who's running for the U.S. Senate against Scott Brown in Massachusetts, and kind of a very polarizing figure. She's kind of the mastermind of a consumer protection agency that was part of the financial reform bill. And a very anti-Wall Street person in rhetoric, and has been vilified for that. But she gave a very populist type speech about the system's rigged against the average person, and she had some good lines. It wasn't a very forceful speech, but everybody was still very in the hall was still very respectful of it. It was quiet, and I thought she did well. I thought earlier in the week, I mean, there have been good speakers all week, and at both conventions, a lot of whom don't get a lot of the attention as the big names. But here, I thought, and last night was one of them, a woman I had never heard of, named Sister Simone Campbell. She says she is she's a nun, and she's one of the nuns on the bus. And these are Catholic, obviously nuns, who drove across the country basically trying to tell people that the House budget written by now Vice Presidential candidate Paul Ryan was just contradictory to the Catholic Church's teachings. And she gave a very powerful speech last night. A woman I'm sure is not used to standing in front of 20,000 people
sure,
being
yeah.
on national television, but she said something like, "We care for the 100%." That's what the nuns on the bus are. We care for the 100%. And I thought one of the best speakers that probably nobody heard because it was fairly early in the program was a Missouri congressman named Emanuel Cleaver, who's also a pastor, and he, like Clinton, deviated quite a lot from his prepared text and started talking about how people made fun of Obama for talking about hope, and he just started yelling out, shouting out, "Hope on, Mr. President! Hope on! Hope's a great thing." Another strong speaker this week I thought was Lilly Ledbetter, who is a woman who filed a federal lawsuit many years ago claiming that she was being paid less than the men doing the same work, and that case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. She lost it basically on a filing day, that she had filed it too late. But one of the first bill that President Obama signed when he took office in 2009 is called the Lilly Ledbetter Act, which gives more longer deadlines for filing pay discrimination suits. So, and I thought she was really strong. So, and the First Lady, obviously. I mean, there've just been a lot of good speeches at both.
All right, very good. Chris Castile from Charlotte, North Carolina at the Democratic National Convention. Chris, we'll let you get back to work. Thanks so much for your time today and your analysis.
Glad to do it, Dave. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. And of course, you can find more of Chris Castile's coverage online today at newsok.com, in today's Oklahoman, and in tomorrow's Oklahoman and newsok.com as President Obama delivers his keynote speech tonight at the Democratic National Convention.